In this video, I need to apologise for some very silly things I said in the last video, and also some fascinating facts. I bet there's a lot of people in England who will not know the information I'm going to divulge in this video. Do please forgive the attire. I've just finished an exercise class and I'm too exhausted to even bother climbing up the stairs to change. Right, so what do I need to apologise for? There were several things in the last video that caused a lot of contention, but several people just thought how utterly silly it was for me to even suggest that we all get along and come together to stop ourselves being taken over by the establishment. Yes, I know, it was a very silly thing. What was I thinking? Us all getting along. Of course we need to carry on arguing with each other instead of looking at the real issues. So thank you for pointing out the error of my ways. And those that had to do it in a rude and obnoxious way, I trust you're feeling ever so manly now you've got that off your chest. And yes, you having a go at a middle-aged woman on YouTube is undoubtedly the key to saving this country from destruction. So well done you. The other thing I do actually need to apologise for, something I neglected to say and I should have said in last week's video, is that people aren't arrested for the flag per se. What they're arrested for is the flag could be seen to be inciting racial hatred. So it's a very clear distinction that I should have said. And to make matters even worse, because I was in a bit of a hurry, I just screenshotted the first example I came to, and that actually was racial hatred. He was outside an Islamic centre with fire starting equipment and every intention of torching the joint, so I really should have read the full article and not been in such a rush. So yeah, it's fair to say I could have done a much better job with last week's video. And I do actually know 6 people in Colchester who got arrested, and a dog. They were outside Colchester Hospital showing support for all people in war-torn areas, and they had a display of about 84 flags, I think it was, and one of them was Russian. So they did get arrested and they actually sued for wrongful arrest and won. So I know it does happen, but I should have been a bit more precise with my languaging that people aren't arrested for a flag, they're arrested for inciting racial hatred. And some of the more recent arrests have also been because there has been antisocial behaviour with bad language, etc. But then that falls into freedom of speech, does it not? And actually, annoyingly, that was the main point that I meant to make when I raised the Lucy Connolly stuff, but it completely went out of my head. Meant to say was about free speech. So regardless of what you think of Lucy Connolly, whether you feel like I do, something's a bit off about it, but you can't quite put your finger on it, or whether you think she's been desperately badly treated and didn't deserve any of that, or you feel that she was guilty as charged and deserved to rot in prison. Whatever side of the equation you're on, the most important part that I forgot to mention was the freedom of speech. But actually, rather than me correct myself, I'm going to play a clip from Claire Wills Harrison, and she puts it so eloquently and also within the bigger picture.
Whatever you see happening to your neighbour, whether that's next door or in another country or someone of another religion or someone of the opposite political spectrum, if you're still on a political spectrum, to what you are, when you see the boot on that person's neck, it is only a matter of time before it's coming for you. If you can't stand up for the people that you disagree with politically or objectively just over other things, if you can't stand up to tyranny enforced on them, if you can't believe that they should have the same rights as you should have, then you don't deserve to have those rights yourself, because that's the whole point. They'll take them away from everybody.
So it's been quite an epic week with the flags everywhere and the disturbances it's causing, and tensions are building, especially around Epping. Many councils are removing flags, painting over roundabouts, etc. And this flag is still being touted as a sign of racism. But as we'll get into later in the video, some quite surprising things about St George that make this being a racial symbol quite laughable. But anyway, we'll get to that. Now, as par of the course with any video where you talk about those that are pulling the strings of the government, it's immediately labelled as a conspiracy theory. So if you wish to believe that organisations like the UN and the World Economic Forum are completely benign, that's entirely your choice. And something like the 17 sustainability goals of the UN do, on the surface, sound very desirable and that it's all for our greater good. It's only when you dive into the details of exactly what they mean within their 17 sustainable goals that you start to see more of the agenda and why it's going to be very detrimental. But, I understand a lot of people don't wish to do that level of research, so they just like to not think and brush everything, all the warnings off as, oh, that's just conspiracy. Okay, fair enough.
And that might sound shocking.
It does sound very shocking.
Every senior member of our cabinet, and actually I think pretty much every senior Labour politician, certainly over the last 25 years, have been members of the Fabian Society. And for those who don't know, the Fabian Society is a secretive organisation who believe in communism through evolution, not revolution. Their logo is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
That says it all.
That says a lot. And then when you look at the UK, what's happening and what's happened, certainly in the last 25 years, if you look at it through a Marxist or a communist lens, things start to come into focus of what's actually happening. And going away from the investment world, you look at the deliberate destruction of families, the deliberate destruction of religion. These are all communist tactics, if you like, because under a communist regime, the only thing that matters is the state. The state provides, the state is all. And you start to sort of join the dots on
Now,
this.
presumably, those who think everything is conspiracy theory, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you must know about the push for digital IDs. It's in the mainstream press enough. We know that one isn't a conspiracy theory, as much as we'd love it to be. It isn't. So my question to you is, do you feel that any government anywhere in the world, all of the governments in fact, should have complete and utter control over everything citizens do, which is what a digital ID and a digital currency enables them to do? Now, you might want to turn around and say, oh no, they won't. How do you know they won't? Can you guarantee it 100%? And if you can now, for example, what about future governments, future generations? Do you think any group of individuals, be they government or corporations, should have that level of control over their citizens? Personally, I don't, because you don't know what they're going to do with it. You don't know how far it's going to go. So you always have to look at what can they do with this technology versus what they are saying they will do with the technology. And frankly, what they're saying they are going to do with the technology is scary enough when you research it, let alone the potential further down the line. So dismiss everything as conspiracy if you wish. If that's what helps you sleep at night, so be it. But do look into the capabilities of what this technology can do. So I've written about everything that's going on in the first couple of chapters in my book, but if you don't want to read a whole book, there's a thread on Twitter that I will link to that is quite mind-blowing, with a conversation that was had with ChatGPT on what's going on in the world and all the agendas. It really is very eye-opening stuff. And it goes through, it breaks down exactly what the agenda is without you having to read hundreds of pages of UN documents as to where humanity is being steered. And when you have the government ignoring the will of the people, councils ignoring the will of the people, the police are no longer policing for our benefit, they are doing what they are told from government. Everything within society is being agitated, both financially and emotionally. You can see us being pushed the whole time. Here's a couple of clips from Epping recently.
I'm not getting out on camera, his son is in tears. How are you dragging him out of the car? What are they doing? Look at his son. What are they doing? What are they doing to him? They've got him up to the van. This is police brutality now. They've just arrested a man who's trying to go home.
You lot should be arrested for antagonising.
So now they're arresting people for trying to go home. How is that legal?
Boys, what are you doing?
Why are you doing that to him? Look how you're grabbing him up, getting his leg off him.
Now!
That's lovely.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, no, easy!
Hey, we do!
Watch his back on the thorns. Wait, no, just move the thorns. Let's move the thorns out of the way, mate. Move the thorn booth. Stand on it, mate.
If he calms down, everything will be
No, but it's for your officers as well. Your officers as well, mate. That's it. That's it. That's it.
He's not resisting. Why are four of you on him? Oh, mate, that's my son, bro. Get back now! Stand back!
Hey!
And kudos to whoever filmed this. He managed to keep calm and did his best to stop things escalating with the police. And the father was obviously very upset by what was happening to his son, so this situation could have got considerably out of control. So of course, with clips like this, you don't often get to see why the police arrested the young man in the first place. So we don't have the full story by any stretch of the imagination, but we all know of instances where there has been unfair and unlawful policing. So it is a very worrying situation here in England. It does feel like we're on a precipice, as in many countries around the world. But when you know they do want to bring in these digital IDs for control, you know they need a certain level of chaos to do it, we need to be very careful we don't walk into the traps that are being laid for us. So I'm going to link below to an excellent article, again from Claire Wills-Harrison, on the ECHR, who has covered all the nuances with this, and there are some quite surprising, or I was surprised by the information in it. For example, I had no idea that legal immigration was so high and how drastically that has gone up, that actually the illegal stuff is just a drop in the ocean. So all these housing shortages we have, and a lot of the problems may not be fully down to illegal immigration. It could be immigration as a whole. So are we being railroaded into blaming everything onto the illegal immigration? It's also an excellent article regarding the nuances of coming out of the ECHR. Now, I know so many people that vehemently believe we need to come out of it, but Claire puts the other side of the argument across, and she acknowledges all the sides. She acknowledges that the ECHR is far from perfect, but it does give us some very important protections that our constitutional documents, like the Bill of Rights, etc., don't actually give us. So it's well worth a read because it's so much more nuanced than it looks at first glance. And with all of this push to come out to save us from illegal immigration, she points out very clearly that that may not be the case. So do read that article. And I had the pleasure of meeting Claire ever so briefly last year when we both spoke at the UK Column Live event in Bristol. So I do know that she knows her stuff. She's not just some random person of the internet. And she does have the legal training to back up what she says and has done all of the research. So on to the main point of this video. Is the St George's Cross racist? So someone in the comments said, you do know St George isn't English, don't you? No, actually, I know nothing about St George. He wasn't someone we were taught about at school other than in passing. And it's not something I've ever researched as an adult until now. And I've had a conversation with some very knowledgeable people that I'm on a Zoom call on Tuesday. And yes, several of them did know that he wasn't English, but none of us really knew every last detail about him. One of the ladies, Claire, thank you Claire, has done a lot of research into it. And here's what she had to say. So it's interesting that St George has connections to Palestine and Israel. It appears he could be the great unifier. Could he be the link that brings peace to warring factions? I expect many English flag wavers are unaware of this history. So what was the history? Well, the tomb is in Israel. He was revered by both Christian and Muslim communities. George is very much honoured by the Eastern Orthodox Church, wherein is he referred to as the Great Martyr. Oriental Orthodoxy, Russian Orthodox Church also celebrates 2 additional feasts in honour of George. In Bulgaria, George's Day is on the 6th of May. The Serbian Orthodox Church refers to George, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, In Egypt, the Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria refers to George as the Prince of Martyrs. In India, he got about, didn't he? So that's quite a few represented. So perhaps my video last week calling for this to become an emblem of unity wasn't quite so silly after all. So it is my highest hope that we do find a way of unifying and coming together and sorting this country out. No one ever agrees 100% of the time, but if we can get enough of us to do things in peaceful ways, and there are many suggestions people are putting on the internet. For example, around Epping, people are saying, if everybody in Epping stops paying their council tax, because let's face it, they're not getting many of the benefits, the money's going elsewhere onto things that they do not wish for their money to be spent on. Others are saying we shouldn't be paying for our gas and electric because we're being thoroughly ripped off with the amount because of renewables. Certainly be a more peaceful way of doing things, and I suspect it would make government sit up and take note far more than the demonstrations will. So I do hope we can find a way of making our voices heard without people resorting to violence. And I think these protests are a very dangerous place to be because it would be so easy to lose your rag. Even if you're a very calm and peaceful person, watching injustices play out in front of you, it's going to be very difficult for people not to lose their temper at some point. But we do need to zoom out of the details of the immediate situation and look at the big picture. And you can see them. The pot is being stirred. You can see the direction they want to go. They need the civil unrest. And I really hope we can come together and not give it to them. Right, that's all from me. I've got loads to do today. And yes, don't worry, the nicotine experiment is coming. I postponed it a week because I did a cleanse this week, and you can't do a cleanse and have stimulants. So next week, I'm definitely doing the nicotine experiment. So until next time, take care.